this is Anjula Ram with Conscious Life News, and I am very excited to be here today with one of my favorite healers, Sonia Grace. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, would you mind talking to us a little bit about the type of healing you do and who is the team of angels, spirits, and so on that you work with?
Sure. I'm really considered an energy surgeon because I go in and I take things out of people's bodies. I repair, lesions, and I repair bones and veins, and I put stents in. I'm very much like a surgeon, and when I'm working, I call upon the archangels. I've always worked with the angels for 32 years. I've called on them, and they're always there to help me. So as I go in and extract something or repair something in an organ or in the body, I'm actually doing the work myself to remove it, but I'm also asking for their guidance to guide where I need to go or what needs to be done. So it is definitely a group effort.
Okay. And could you talk about because I'm assuming you're working on the chakra alignment and just the overall well-being and the auric field. So could you talk a little bit about the chakras and their connection with the auric field?
Sure. I work in the energy system, and I work with the chakras going in, not only balancing, but creating healing within the chakra itself, and it relates to the layers of the field. So the first chakra relates to the first layer of the field, the second chakra is the second layer, the third chakra, the third layer, and it keeps going out to the 7 chakras. I work as much in the auric field as I do in the actual chakra, because things get lodged in the auric field that are different than what is actually maybe lodged or going on in the chakra itself.
Now, these things that are lodged, could you give us a little bit of information about what is it that you're removing and healing within that energy field?
A lot of times there'll be an entity or an alien, some kind of spirit being that doesn't need to be there, that maybe is stuck in there or wanting to be attached in some way. Sometimes they end up in people's bodies, and I clear them out of their bodies. But if they're in the field, then I'll go in and with the help of the angels, I remove them. And I feel that these things happen because we're in so many frequencies. We'll walk into an energy, let's say we're in the grocery store, and there's someone that we're standing next to who's had a really hard day, and they're kind of negative and angry, and they've lowered their vibration, and they've got stuff attached to them, and we're around them, and then that stuff's kind of moving in on us because we're a vibrational match for it. Not because we're victims, but because we've lowered our energy to let those things come in. So the higher we keep our energy and our vibration, the more expanded we are, the more we have the ability to not take that kind of stuff in.
Would you be able to tie that together with the concept of energy vampires? So is it a situation of if we weren't vibrating at that level in the first place, we wouldn't be experiencing energy vampires, or do we experience them regardless of what level we're vibrating at?
I think that there's a difference. If we are at a higher frequency, like we're keeping our energy really high, we might not have such a severe impact as we would if our energy were lower. And just to define for the listeners what an energy vampire is in my experience, they're people who are literally hooking up with energy lines to your body and sourcing the information out of you. Mm-hmm. And I've been around people who do this, and it's really it's not pleasant what happens. They'll literally hook up cords to your head and extract the information that they want out of your head. This is again sourcing energy. So it's really not okay, and it's not an okay practice because it's against that person's consent. They certainly didn't give you the right to go in and just, take what are memories or thoughts that you're having.
And are they always, are these types of energy vampires always intentional, or is it possible to be in space with an energy vampire that doesn't even realize that they are being an energy vampire?
Again, from my experience, I think that the energy vampires that I run into and deal with, there's a lot of intention. There's, they're practicing some form of black magic or voodoo or something that is ill-intended.
Mm-hmm.
It's ill-intended, and it is meant to extract or hook up to you in such a way that is meant to harm you. Whereas someone who maybe is just really emotionally wounded, and they're sad and they've got problems and they haven't worked through their stuff, and maybe they're a little bit needy and they kind of grab onto you with their energy. I don't see that person as an energy vampire. I think that's too strong of a word. I see that person as an emotionally wounded little child who needs help and needs to be cared for. I think energy vampires is more something that's intentional.
Okay. And so talking about emotional wounding, is this something that you're also clearing and repairing as you're doing your work?
Absolutely. I would say 85% of the work I do with people is going in on an emotional level and helping them get out the energetic emotional component that's been stored in the physical body. And a lot of times that happens because we have specific woundings from childhood that have gone unresolved. And so that whatever that wounding is, let's say it's a fear of being abandoned, or they were abandoned and they're still dealing with abandonment issues. I don't know why he left me, why can't I ever have, the right boyfriend? They always leave me. There's this constant theme of abandonment. I would go in and help that person find where in their childhood that actual original wounding happened. And we would clear that from the physical body. Then I would go back into past lives and clear karmically where that abandonment issue came as a karmic piece or an emotional wounding that didn't get resolved.
Okay, and now I understand there's a lot of different interpretations of what karma is. So would you be able to just describe a little bit of
Sure.
how you perceive karma?
Sure. I see karma as being the unresolved emotional woundings that we have from past lives. So if we're in a lifetime and our husband went off to war and we didn't ever get to see him again and we were devastated, there were certainly no phones and no way to find out whatever happened, and then we died, and there was that feeling of loss and abandonment and separation and betrayal because you never got word. All of those things become the unresolved pieces that you die with. You die with those things unresolved. So you come back again, new lifetime. Now you're in a new situation and you're setting it up so that you can heal what has happened.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not that I know of how we can do personal work on our past life stuff, but I know that we can, and I love doing the inner child work.
Mm-hmm.
So would you be able to just share an idea of how we can nurture our own inner child, and if we don't nurture our own inner child, how that can show up in our interactions with other people?
Sure. Let's start with that part. If we don't nurture the inner child or take responsibility to parent that part of ourselves, then a lot of times if we come from a dysfunctional situation, maybe, mom worked and dad was gone and we had to be sort of the little adult taking care of the baby sister or brother, and we're only 5 years old, then that 5-year-old will have the drive and the impetus to step forward and try to basically carry on and do the work and be the one driving the car and taking responsibility and taking care of everyone. When in fact that 5-year-old is the one who needs to be nurtured and loved and healed and treated as the child that he or she was, and then cared for and allowed to play and to heal in that way. So going in and being able to just close your eyes and see yourself as a child walking or crawling up to you, and do nothing more than to just ask the child, how are you feeling? And honor whatever it is they're feeling. Maybe they say, I feel alone, or I feel sad, or I feel like nobody loves me. Whatever it is, scoop that child up into your arms, feel your heart opening up and loving them, and their heart opening up and loving you, and tell the child how much you love them, and that you're parenting them now, and that you will be there for them. For whatever needs they have, whatever approval they need, you're giving that to them now. And that way, when we take responsibility for the inner child, we are able to be in our adults. And then our adult is the one driving the car and dealing with situations that come up, instead of the inner child just being so quick to step in the front and say, hey, I know how to deal with that. Let me drive the car and, do whatever, fix whatever. So it's a really good way to take responsibility.
Excellent. So what percent in your experience would you say of the physical issues that you've gone to address, that they were actually offsets of emotional wounds?
100%. Mm-hmm. I really, again, 32 years of doing this work, I really feel that people experience something emotional and store it in the closet, which is our bodies. And a lot of times we don't have a chance to really process something and release it because we feel hemmed in, or we can't talk about it right now, or there's something that's not allowing us to do that. So it gets put on the shelf. And unless we're really on top of it, take it off the shelf, deal with it, it gets stored long term. And 20 years later, that sense of abandonment or whatever the wound is has now settled into the physical body and manifested as a physical condition.
Now, one of the things that I think has contributed to maybe suppressing our feelings or not addressing and doing the inner child work and so on is the movement of law of attraction and positive thinking. And although the mind is very powerful and it's very important to stay positive, I feel like it can kind of lean on one side of a polarity, one side of a spectrum. So what's your take on the law of attraction and actually doing your own inner work and facing some darker sides within yourself as well?
I think it's very important. I think that the duality, everything exists, good and bad, right and wrong, and we're constantly investing our energy in that duality. And I teach to basically observe and not invest your energy in the duality, because when we do that, we're creating more karma as individuals and as a collective. And I feel that when we get hung up on what is right and wrong and good and bad, and we swing to one side saying, oh, I'm just going to be positive and only think of positive things and everything has to be love and light and positive, we don't realize that we're actually swinging that pendulum way to the other side, where a lot of negativity will happen, will be created in order to find balance in that duality. That's all our universe is based upon, is balance. The earth is balancing, we have to find our own inner balance, and when we're balanced, she's balanced.
And so there's, everyone's into this, let's just love each other and love ourselves, which, I'm totally for. But there does seem to be a feeling of, I love myself now, and then I love my partner, and I love my family, friends, community. And I don't think it's really stretching across the board to the other side of the world and so on. And, I feel there's a big need for unity consciousness, to know that somebody on the other side of the planet is as important as, your best friend or your mother that's sitting with you. So would you be able to share a little bit? I think you've told me a story in the past related to this as well, if you'd like to share that.
I wrote in my first book, Angels in the 21st Century, that the mission statement for humanity was to love at the deepest level of our beings. And what that means to me is that I love the people of the world, the people in Syria, the people in the Ukraine, the people who are really suffering and dealing with hardship, Africa, all over the world. I love those people as much as I love my own family, as much as I love my husband, as much as I love my sisters. I love them that much. And that's what I feel we're really here to do. We're here to not only experience divine love in physical form, but to express that and to connect with each other in that way.
And tied into that, the concept of forgiveness, and for me personally and for the people that I speak with, there's a concept of like, okay, we have to practice forgiveness, and then there seems to be a kind of a blurry line with where the boundaries are. So that learning to balance forgiving people and also holding them accountable for whatever may have happened for them to hurt you. So would you be able to talk a little bit about how you balance those two out?
Well, I think that forgiveness is the key to clearing our karma. And at least in this lifetime, we can forgive people and really be staying on top of the whole karma thing, because we are stopping and forgiving. But if that's hard, and I have clients who call me and say, but I can't forgive them, they did blah, 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 and it's something really horrific and awful. It's like you can hold that person accountable, just as you said. And sometimes that is a way for people to have some reconciliation within themselves. Okay, I hold you accountable for what you did, but I forgive you. So I'm not incurring more karma with you in my future lives. I think it's really important.
Very nice. So just to kind of head to wrap up, so about community, and I think a lot of people, we get into this place of like, I want to save the world, and I want to save my community, and I want to save this, and I want to save that. So it's such a big picture that sometimes I feel it becomes so large that you freeze and you don't actually do any of it. So would you be able to talk a little bit about the importance of doing like how it falls within yourself, within your community, and globally, and so on?
Sure. I think our greatest responsibility is to ourselves in healing all of that stuff that we came in with karmically, healing the inner child, and finding a place of deep inner peace within us. And when we find that inner peace, our ability to observe the duality, not engage in what's right or wrong, our understanding that the universe and creator is made up of everything, and that we actually can live beyond the duality, and that this dualistic reality that we have right now is actually, it's going to be gone while we're moving into the fifth dimension as we are. It will eventually be gone, and we're feeling this giant separation split right now because the duality is literally splitting apart. So if people can find that and be in that state of peace, observing, not engaging their energy, then, to me, they have the ability to go and help others and be in a state of service. But a lot of times we forget that we need to be attentive to our own tribe, to our own village. Everybody wants to be global, and it's like, you know what? We need to take care of what's in our own backyard. And there's issues right here in your town or in your state that need to be addressed. And I really encourage people to act locally, think globally, but act locally, and communicate and participate with your village and help the people in those places. And if you want to be global and help people around the world, really go in and do the healing and find the peace within you. Because the more of us that find that deep inner peace within ourselves, it ignites and it will spread around the world. But just to use peace as something outside of ourselves that we're going to shoot for, no. It's not a thought. It is something we actually feel.
Now, you touched on fifth dimension, so would you just be able to just go over what the fifth dimension is and what it means for us to be entering into it now?
Well, we left the fourth dimension when the Mayan calendar ended, and the fourth dimension was, thousands of years since the beginning of Atlantis and Lemuria. So we had a whole run through the fourth dimension, and now we've entered the fifth dimension, which is a really much higher vibration. It has a lot to do with communication, with using our fifth chakras, understanding our ability to be telepathic with each other, to be able to hear the spirit realm and understand that we are in a higher vibration. And it's also really about taking what we learned about the heart in the fourth dimension and expressing it, bringing that to light through our words, song, music, sound, everything. It's very important, but it's a high frequency. And so people are kind of struggling and having a hard time integrating because there's resistance. There's resistance in the body. There's resistance in the whole process. No, why can't we do it that way? Well, that's the way we did it in the fourth dimension, and it just doesn't work in this higher frequency. So we have to be really willing to let go and process our feelings, do the inner work, excavate the emotional woundings out so that we can be in this higher frequency.
Okay, and with that transition, and I guess about staying grounded and present to this shift that we've gone into, could you just speak very, very quickly on some techniques? Would you recommend meditation, the importance of meditation, journaling, inner child work? Like, what would be your takeaway pieces that you would like to give to people if they want to become more conscious to what's going on?
I think for the inner work, they should call me for a session.
Okay.
And I think for the daily practice that everyone should be meditating. And I think we should be at a point in our meditation. If you're starting to meditate, great. You know, I teach a really good grounding meditation that I think is important because it addresses grounding your energy. The other thing I want to say about that is don't get hung up on, oh my God, I've got to sit in meditation for hours and hours and hours. You know, start with 15 minutes and that's great. The other thing that we can do is start practicing our meditation in motion. I go to the gym and get on the bike and close my eyes and I go into meditation while I bike. And it's incredible. It's amazing to start moving that meditation in our physical bodies. The other thing I would suggest is that people really practice understanding and being aware of their words and what they're saying. Because in this fifth dimension, our words have even more impact than they did in the fourth dimension. And it's so important that we recognize what we're putting out there in the universe and what's coming back to us. And if we're in a balanced place, we're not jumping over, oh, that was so good, it was so wonderful, or oh, that was so bad and it's so awful. But we're staying centered. Our words are staying balanced. We're then creating balance. And in my opinion, that is absolutely the place that we need to be. That's the place the earth is constantly vying for, and she's shifting and moving to create.
Okay. So I've been to a couple of your workshops and I love your work. I know people can join you for retreats or have one-on-ones with you, and you also have a new book coming out. So could you tell us a little bit about all of that?
Sure. I have a new book coming out in September, and it's called Become an Earth Angel, a guide to finding your wings in service. And it's all about helping people identify who they are as a person who wants to be in service, and my guidance and stories and all kinds of information on helping them to find their wings. Then I've got retreats coming up in May. I'll be teaching a meditation retreat in Hawaii for 3 days, May 9th through the 12th. And then I've got one at Joshua Tree Retreat in October, and that's a 4-day meditation healing retreat. And then in December, I'll be on the island of Mallorca off of Spain for a 5-day meditation retreat that also includes a winter solstice ceremony. People can call me. I work with people all over the world, and I see clients over the phone because I'm never in front of people unless I'm teaching a workshop or a retreat. So all of my work is long distance, and all the healing work that I do is also long distance.
And all of this information is on your website. So would
Yes.
you mind just giving us your website, please?
Sure. It's Sonja, Sonja, Grace, GRACE.com.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful
Thank you.
speaking with you.
Thank you.
That's all from me today, and this is Anjula Ram with Conscious Life News.